Hello, my dear teachers. My name is Inna Trush. I'm the founder and the manager of the English Project, and welcome to the team, welcome to the family. And today, now it's going to be the first training of 4 trainings which I'm willing to give to you to dig you into the methodology and to I hope they will be really helpful for you, and will help you to grow your professionalism. So as you know, it's like second training which you have got within the Be Englisher team. The first one was the entry training about the system in general, and today what are we going to talk about today? Oh, you know that today we are going to talk about 50 shades of grammar and how to deal with those. And before we dig into the topic, I would like you to think on very important issues at first, to prepare yourself to work with that. So first think, why do your students need grammar on the first place? And you can ask me, Inna, it's so strange question. It's like the program, you would demand from me to give them grammar. Why should I think of that on the first place? I'll explain you, because I truly believe that good teaching can come only from consciousness attitude to the issue. If you know exactly why you're doing something, you will do it the best. Because some of the teachers, I would say all teachers, they have their favorite issue to teach. Some people adore teaching vocabulary, working on speaking, working on pronunciation. My favorite issue is grammar. I can teach it with all the passion I'm capable of, and my students feel it. And even though they think that grammar is not that much important, that they still learn it because they feel the passion I feel about it. So this useful hint could benefit you in 2 ways. So first way, you just understand why you want to teach grammar, and you will do it in the best way. And the second, this will help you to figure out your personal attitude to grammar. What do you really think of that? Because that's the second question I would like to discuss with you. How much grammar is enough? Because that is the second question. I guess you have to answer it before digging into teaching students. That, for example, I said, since I love grammar very much, I could be talking about it forever, but there is such a minimum which every of my students should operate regardless of how much they want to dig into that. There is, grammar can be like a favorite topic which you teach and you teach about it forever, or you can just teach it like 15 minutes per class, but within these 15 minutes they have to, your students have to work out the minimum which is needed to operate. So what I suggest you to do, really, before you start teaching, for you, answer why is grammar important, why your students need to learn it. Then make a list of topics which you consider they really should know. For example, if we open any of teachers' books, there can be 15 topics, but if we look them through, we understand that 8 of them are really important, and other 7 are about some quite minor issues. What I mean, some basic topics are of course tenses and passive and modals and conditional sentences, and minor topics, so not so important, I would say comparative superlatives, adverbs, adjectives, different types of questions, all these phrases like despite or in spite of, they are second priority. And there are first priority topic which your students have to know for sure. And within every topic there is some minimum which students have to operate. Because, for example, if we take the topic of conditionals, there are many exceptions. There are 5 main conditionals, and many exceptions, variations, like for example in zero conditionals, instead of if and present simple, there can be present perfect. Yeah, if I do, instead of if I do, you can say if I have done something. Or instead of if, you can use unless, you can use after, you can use before, and some other variations. More variations can be in the second part, for example in first conditionals. Yeah, in the second part, instead of just will, we can say I'm going to do something, I will be doing that, it will be it will have been done, or something like that. So these are additional knowledge on the topic, but within this topic of conditionals there is some core which students have to know for sure. Of course this core is different for different levels, but when passing from one level to another, these core rules, these core principles, your students should know. And then the next question, how can I deliver it the most effectively? Again, this question will be very natural for you after you have answered this question to yourself. Why do I need grammar at all? Yeah, why do I need grammar? It will be a personal answer. Then you will get the answer to the question, which topics do I personally consider needed? Which core of which topic do I consider needed? And since you know that this core of which topic your students have to know for sure, it will be the next natural question. How can I teach it in the most efficient way? So let's go there. Okay, so you might have already heard about that basic teaching algorithm is usually presented in 3 steps. Yeah, you can teach grammar, vocabulary, anything this way, not even within the English subject. So theory, practice, and product. So yeah. We're going to talk about each of these steps more detailedly, and moreover I would say that I would modify the scheme a little bit, and now I would like to tell you about 5 steps to teach grammar. So the first step which you're going to do is very unusual to many of you, like sell it. Sell this topic you're going to study to your students. And you can say, Inna, oh my god, what are you talking about? I am a teacher. They pay me for me to come and teach them. Yes, it's a good approach, not that efficient, not always that efficient. I will explain why. But before, I will just say that you have this sell point even before you start explaining something on the subject. Why I insist you should use it? Because I would say that out of my observations, now there are 2 teaching models, 2 models for teachers, how they teach, basically regardless of the age, I would say. There are young teachers, 2 teaching models or behavioral lines. First, it's like university teaching or school teaching, which the main idea of which is that a teacher comes to the class and gives the topic which he or she considers necessary, doesn't really thinking much about, do my students really need this topic? How important is this topic for my students? How they can benefit from it? And so on, so on. So they just come and give the student the topic. And the key here is not efficiency. The key here is just to work out. It's not the key. The key is just to work out the time. That's all. Many of university teachers, if you can remember their lections, which were quite boring, I would say, it was the same approach. The teacher just comes to the class and starts giving the topic, not really caring are the students interested and do they need it on the first place. And what are students doing on his lessons? They are sleeping or they are bored and they are feeling that they are wasting their time. But when you are at university, you're quite motivated to do that because you want to get a score. But our students are adults, yeah, adults, self-sufficient adults, usually, whose time is very precious. That's why we had better go to the second teaching line, second teaching strategy. It is when when you imagine yourself as a teacher, yeah, you imagine yourself kind of like a TV channel, yeah, and you know that, imagine that in case your students lose interest to their topic or they don't see how this topic can benefit for them, yeah, that's basically what we have started with, they just click the channel and that's it. If we imagine that, I guess we'll be more careful in preparation and in selling the topic. What do I mean? Of course, the students love you. It's of course it's true. They love you, they respect you, and they're happy to see you in their class. But let's imagine that all of this doesn't exist. Yeah, let's imagine that you're teaching this topic and you can be clicked at any minute. At that moment, this issue of selling the topic, of the idea showing why students have to be attentive now, why they have to listen to you, why they have to interact actively here, why they have to be very enthusiastic, all this preparation goes in this selling stage. So how I suggested to do that? To illustrate my point, so basically here you answered the question why your students need it, what exactly they're going to benefit if they study this topic carefully. Let me tell you such an example that a couple of days ago I was on the lesson of one of our teachers, and she was given a very, very interesting topic, which is called multi-generation management. Yeah, so it's how to manage people which belong to different generations, so they have different values and there might be some conflicts or like complete wall of misunderstanding there. And you know, this topic is so amazing, and she just came to class and started explaining on the generations. So what's basically the difference between generations, and her students couldn't get it, like what are we talking about now and why are we talking about that, yeah. And I suggested her to sell this topic. So, for example, how could she do? Yeah, she could write down on pieces of paper a couple of values for each generation. For example, for some generation of people, the key value is like stability. Stability and maybe some materialistic issues. Yeah, and while for another generation, the key value is like constant improvement, change, and like opportunities, I would say. And we can talk, we can like discuss this, take papers, yeah, with these values, and like guys, and we can say like that if we are presented, if we are trying to sell this kind of topic, because the students may not buy it, yeah, so your task is to sell it, to get them interested into that. So, and you're saying, for example, guys, let's imagine, yeah, there are two people. First has this kind of values, and the second guy, or girl, a woman, bears this kind of values. What kind of conflicts could they have on the workplace? Okay, discuss what kind of conflicts. What if this guy is a boss and this guy is an employee? What kind of conflicts can they have? Have you had this kind of situations? If this is an employee and this is a boss, conflict, have you had this kind of situation? So this way she got the students interested into that. So basically selling the topic is about getting the students interested to see to see how it's relevant to their life. Yeah, because now we have so informational overload that we are only interested in something which can help us to solve our problems, or at least analyze something which is happening in our life more effectively and interact with that more effectively. To be interested, to be relevant, and, as I said, benefits somehow through learning this topic. Why am I talking about this topic now? Because that's why I started studying this theory of generations, how they interact and how what can be the conflicts and how can you deal with them. I started studying this topic because I have figured out the benefit for me that since I work with people of different generations at work, yeah, I have to interact with them, I have to understand them, I have to be a good negotiator and give them what they want if I am capable to give that. So the benefit for me of studying this theory and studying this material, it is like I'm a good negotiator, yeah, people like cooperating with me, I get my opportunities, I get my chances, and I might get some income, yeah, some even material benefits of that. That's why I studied it. The same scheme can work with grammar, of course. In grammar, for example, when you're teaching present perfect, yeah, it can be quite a challenging issue. Like, how can my students benefit from knowing present perfect? If we are talking it in, taking it in global way, yeah, in global scope, like, it will not benefit them that much, yeah, if they say correctly, if they say have done instead of did. So maybe I shouldn't give this topic to them at all, but you know that you should give them. The benefit mustn't be so macro, so big, so influencing all of their lives. No, the benefit can be micro. What do I mean? When you are teaching some grammar and you want to make your students interested, what you can do? You can just bring them some kind of translations. It can be a text, it can be a sentence, or a piece of a text, yes, to translate it from the context. And when at some point they understand that they are not capable to do it absolutely correctly, here is your benefit. If they study this topic, they will be able to translate it correctly. And this will give them more confidence in their language, in their English language in general. And more confident English language will help them, might help them to open some of the doors. So, but you don't need to explain all of that. You just show it with the simple warming up activity even before you present the topic. You show why they need this topic. So how to get them interested, yeah? To show how they can benefit from it, or to show how they can avoid something, how they can avoid some awkward mistakes, misunderstandings, or something like that, which is often given as an argument when talking about pronunciation and when talking about E and E sounds, yeah, and this example of bitch and bitch. Bitch and bitch and bitch. And when students understand that, oh my god, I could be saying bitch all the time, they start paying more attention to their pronunciation, so they are motivated to pay more attention to that. But if you just say to them, okay, you have to pronounce just longer E, they would say and, yeah. But if you sell them this topic, they will be more interested. So, okay, so you could even develop your own style, yeah, of selling something. My personal style of selling something, usually I bring some colorful papers with some key phrases, for example, or I could show them a couple of the pictures and say like, guys, look at these pictures. What am I trying to tell you? Yeah, what kind of topic have I brought to you? Try to guess, try to understand. They give their assumptions, and then again I can ask a question. How are you going to benefit from studying this topic? Like this. And I can do like that at the beginning of the lesson, talking about the general topic of the lesson, or about grammar. For example, let me show you how I try to get the interest of my students. Okay, it's going to take some time, but I just bring them lately. You know, I have been bringing my students a presentation. For example, we are studying models, yeah, and I bring them the presentation of just. I ask them to explain, for example, the difference of can and be able to. Very simple. Yeah, here is my presentation about models, very similar to the presentation I'm giving to you now. Basically, presentation is just this warmer up. It's a key how you can present it, but also when people see some slides and they don't understand what the slides are about, their attention is attracted, yeah, and they are ready to listen to you at least for 20 seconds for sure. So, for example, if I want to like sell them to attract their interest on the topic of models, I can show this for a simple slide like can and be able to. So could you please explain me the difference between can and be able to? And that's all. Or I can give some sentences to translate. And when students understand that they are not pretty sure what's the difference, they cannot explain it, their attention is grabbed like this. Okay, so now we're going to the theory, or we can say presentational part of the of our training. So, how do you present the material? Again, when you present it, yes, so your students have already understood that there are some situations where if they don't use this instrument, they are going to lose something, yeah, or they're going to look stupid, or they're going to make an awkward mistake, or something like that. So basically, in the presentation part or in the theory part is here, you explain them how they should or how they have to actually use this instrument. Yeah, how you can do it? You can present here. You can present through. So you present everything in context, yeah? So first of all, you never start with explaining the rules, you know? Again, okay, today let's talk about present simple. You know, present simple, it is do, does, and like always, often, never, and so on. You can say like that, it's not forbidden, but this piece of information will be lost, and I guarantee you that you will have to repeat it again, because since your students didn't know that this piece of information is going to be important, they missed it. That's why you don't present rules at the beginning. Yeah, you show how something can be expressed in some context, and that will be enough. So how you show the context? You can show some picture. Okay, for example, you can show a picture of a cloud, yeah, if you are studying future tenses, and say it's going to rain. Like, guys, let's discuss what's the difference between it's going to rain and it will rain. And you're showing some picture just to illustrate your point, yeah? Like, if I see clouds, I would say it's going to rain. You're saying, yeah, if I can see clouds and you show the picture, I can say it is going to rain. Because I can see an evidence that this is going to happen. Then you remove the picture, for example, and you say, now I don't see any clouds on the I don't see any clouds in the sky. Yeah, I just think for some reason I think it will rain later, but I cannot prove it because I see no clouds, nothing like that. The sun is shining, but I think it will rain soon. Yeah, it will rain. So, and you're saying, so guys, what's the difference between it's going to rain and it will rain? And it's evidence, yeah, you have to see some evidence or feel what's going on. So this way, if you see the evidence, it's going to, yeah, if you don't see it, will. Like this, so you can use picture for that. You can also use some kind of, you can use some kind of video, like a picture, yeah. Maybe there is some video without sound, and I saw a wonderful video when I was also looking for some material. How can I illustrate future tenses? Yeah, going to, will be doing, will be happening, will have done. And on the internet I found an amazing video which showed us our future, that like in future everything is going to be touchpad. It was very impressive. Like for example, not only computers, yes, telephones, yes, but also for example your cooker, you will not need to turn some kind of a switch or something like that. You will just touch it, you know, you will just touch it and it will give you some warm fire, and you can increase the warmth of your of your cooker, just like on a touch screen. So the same works with the pictures. For example, the fridge surface, it wasn't just plastic or iron, whatever, it was also this touch screen surface, and there are some pictures, and if you want to increase them, you just do like that. So it was very impressive. Anyway, this video, it's like more modern, we could say, yeah, more exciting equivalent of pictures. So basically you can use it as well. You can use some audio to hear, to let your students to hear what you want to say. You can bring them some dialogue or something like that, yeah, or some heroes. Use that all the time. For example, you want to present shall, and you can give some movie segment or a short movie segment. When heroes are speaking, we're using shall, like, shall we do that, shall I do that for you, and you will show them to me through audio or through video, but which is for listening, yeah, not for watching. Of course, there can be some physical experiment, I would say, which you do. For example, it's very easy. When you're presenting present perfect, for example, I can say, show it this way. For example, a blank, let's imagine, yeah, it's a blank whiteboard, and like, guys, you see, yeah, nothing. Then just don't look, yeah. For example, guys, close your eyes, and I'm writing something on the whiteboard, and my students' eyes are closed. And now, guys, please open your eyes. Am I writing something at that moment? No, I'm not writing. You see, I'm not writing. But like few moments ago, yeah, just I have done something, and you can see the result of it. Yeah. So, and you can give some couple of more examples. For example, you can show them a full cup, or not full, but some water in the cup, and then you drink it when your students' eyes are closed, and then you say, like, guys, look, here is the result of my actions. Yeah, I have drunk all the water. Or for example, you can turn on or turn off the lights in the room. You can light a candle. You can spread parfum. So any kind of physical experiment could be good to illustrate, for example, present perfect or present perfect continuous. You could pretend to be painting a wall, yeah, and say, oh my god, I'm so tired, I have painted only 3 walls so far, yeah, you know, but I'm so tired because I have been painting since 8 o'clock in the morning. This way you can even physically perform something yourself, or there is one interesting activity. You can ask your volunteer students to help you. For example, when introducing past continuous, or maybe present continuous, maybe even future continuous, if you manage to organize it, you give your volunteer student these cards, yeah, with different activities, like this. Like this, yeah, and student is doing that, and other students are guessing and commenting what is he doing. So it's also a presentation, but the more your students are involved in your presentation, the better. So how you present it, you give some real world materials, yeah, which are relevant to your students. Real world relevant materials. Yeah, what is, at first you give the context and some example, Then you, of course, decompose it. I'm not saying that you mustn't give formulas or indicator words as well. No, no, no. I'm just saying that first it must be the context, some relevant context to the students for them to actually catch this kind of feeling, how they can use it. But then, of course, you write the formula. Then you write the indicator words. Maybe some more examples if needed. You can say your own examples. Yeah? So basically for presenting something, it can be also your performance or your own examples, because students usually like hearing about their teachers, so why not? Then we go to the next level, to the next step. And the next step, I previously said that the next step should be just practice. Yeah, you present something, then you practice. It sounds logical, but I would say it, yes, that it's very important step here. It's small, yet very important to check your students' understanding. How you check it? It's very simple. You just usually ask them to make their own examples. If they have learned some vocabulary before that, you can ask them to make their own examples and vocabulary, but using the vocabulary learned, but the vocabulary must be familiar for them, because two pieces of new information like vocabulary and grammar could be too much. Yeah, but if you learn something last lesson, it could be relevant for just try it. Yeah, test it and see how it works. But anyway, you check your students' understanding, and if they don't understand, you go back to the explanation, then you go back to checking, then to explanation again, and you go back and forth until you have got this feeling that your students understood. Because that's the mistake of some teachers, that they give something to their students and then they shift to the next level, to the level of practice, for example, or working something out, and it's very confusing for students because they haven't got it yet. This is not good, because yeah, of course, you need to make sure that your students have understood. So present piece by, and if the material is quite big, yeah, so it's not that easy to present it, divide it into a couple of sections. So you explain the first section, the basic information, very basic information. Then you check understanding. Then maybe you go to some practice, or maybe just check the understanding. Okay, you have understood, great. Then you go to the next block of information, maybe a little bit more difficult. Then you check understanding again, might be a little practice. Then you go to the third block of information, and so on, so on. So one guy say that we can adhere, we can like take into practice and digest not more than 12% of new information per one time. So we can say that this one process, yeah, this one cycle of piece of theory then checking could be equal to 12% of information. For example, you have given this 12, if your students, for example, they didn't know anything about present perfect continuous or past perfect continuous. Yeah, it's absolutely new for them. They have never heard of it. They didn't know it even exists, and they didn't think that they need it at all.